Hey, World Geography class, this is Coach Gault. This will be our basically last assignment of the year. It'll be a Middle East quiz. I'm going to go over the three set of notes that we've done. It's only 10 questions long, all multiple choice. It should be pretty straightforward. You can use your notes on it. And so I'm going to start with the cultural geography. And again, I'm just going to go over stuff that's specifically on the quiz. So hopefully we've already taken notes over this. One of the first ones that is going to be on the quiz is the Turks. You're going to need to know that the Turks were the ethnic group that ruled and dominated the Middle East during the age of the Ottoman Empire. So when you're in world history next year, you're going to learn about the Ottoman Empire, how it spread through the Middle East. The country that is here today is called Turkey, and that's why it's named Turkey, is after the Turks. Another ethnic group you're going to need to know for the quiz is the Armenians. The Armenians was the first ancient kingdom to convert to Christianity. So some of you might be Christian. You might think of going to a church or see the preacher, where their Christianity is a little bit different than ours. It's a very old version of Christianity. They have a lot of different services and a lot of different relics and stuff that they practice. The third ethnic group that is going to be on the quiz is the Kurdish people. You're going to need to know that they were a super vital, super important ally to the United States in the fight against ISIS. So you can see this yellow area right here. That is where the Kurds currently live. So they live within Turkey. Turkey actually is persecuting the Kurds. They don't allow them. They want them to act like Turks. And so the Kurdish people are very proud of their heritage. You can see they're in northern Iraq and in Syria. And so when they started in Syria, moved into Iraq, the Kurds were an important ally to the United States in helping us fight against ISIS. The last ethnic group you're going to need to know is the Bedouins. The Bedouins, and you're going to need to know that they're nomadic people. So you can see the pictures, they're moving around, and it looks like they're in campsites, and it literally means desert dweller. And so they live mostly on the Sinai Peninsula in the desert of Egypt, and you can kind of see them all throughout the Middle East. But they do travel around from place to place, just kind of as farmers, as herders, mostly herding camels and goats. So again, you're going to need to know that the Bedouins, they're the people who are semi-nomadic. Next, I'm going to move on to climate. There's not a whole lot of questions about climate on the quiz. One question that is on the quiz has to do with population density in the Nile River. So you can see right here, it says the Nile River in Egypt. It makes up of 3% of Egypt's land. So literally the land is 3%. And you can see the Nile River, it's all green and lush around it. But more than 90% of its people live in that 3% of land. So the population density of the Nile River area is very, very, very high. Again, the population density is very high around the Nile River. You're also going to need to know this word Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia means land between two rivers. You're going to learn again about this next year in world history. And Mesopotamia is between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. And so the Tigris and Euphrates is right here in modern day Iraq. And so this was one of the first civilizations on earth was at Mesopotamia. And again, between the Tigris and Euphrates River. I believe, this one. I think the last, no, we'll keep going. The last physical feature, we'll still hit climate. The last physical feature on the quiz is the Dead Sea. And you're going to need to know that it's the saltiest body of water in the world. So it's very easy to float. So you can see these pictures right here of the people floating. It's a very cool experience if you ever get to go to the Dead Sea. I've got to go twice. It's really unique. It's very hot there. But again, you can just kind of sit down and float. It's the saltiest body of water in the world. And then going into climate, it's going to ask you what's the best climate for farmers in the Middle East. And farmers really like the Mediterranean climate because it has the most rainfall. So a lot of the climates around this area are arid and semi-arid, so they are desert. But the Mediterranean climate has the most rainfall, and so the farmers can grow a lot of barley, wheat, a bunch of different crops. Um, and then moving on to the history notes. I think there's only 2 or 3 questions from this one. We talked about Mesopotamia already, land between 2 rivers, Tigris and Euphrates. Their first writing was cuneiform. In ancient Egypt, their writing system was called hieroglyphics. That's going to be on the quiz, hieroglyphics in ancient Egypt and their writing form. I think the last one was the Phoenicians. And so the Phoenicians, they create their own writing form, but they actually created an alphabet similar to what we use today. And so if you think of like phonics or hooked on phonics, like learning how to read, that's where this comes from, Phoenicians. And so they create this alphabet where the letters go as sounds. I'm just looking through here. I do not see any other questions on the quiz. So, with that being said, I've gone through all the material that's going to be on the quiz. Like always, be sure to email me if you have any questions, and I hope you all have a good day.